Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 5 Records video and another one in the series in which I'm taking a closer look at the full body of work of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, awaiting the release of their new album Wild God later this month. I'm taking a look at their full body of work. Now, we have arrived at their 15th album, Push the Sky Away. What I'm holding here is a first pressing, and for me the interesting thing is here, this is one of the first quote unquote new albums that I bought around the time of its release. Now, on this channel, sometimes there are people who talk to me and say, how do you think you can talk about these records if you weren't around when they were made? And I think that is the most dull argument ever. And how dull it is, I'm noticing listening to this one in this series. Why? Well, this was the first Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds release, which I was conscious about. That's a little bit of a personal story, but this was released in 2013, and 2013 was the year when I moved from Haarlem to Amsterdam, and I lived in Haarlem by myself, and I moved to a student home, a college home, with other students in Amsterdam when I was 23, I believe. Yeah, I was 23. And I was used to having mostly the things that I found on the internet, old records, my own influences. And then suddenly in 2013, in a new house with a lot of culturally interested people, creative students, the releases of the day, the releases that were at that moment important, came to my ears. And suddenly everybody was talking about Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Have you heard Push the Sky Away? So, first thing was, I thought this band is new. If it's so high up in the charts, if everybody's talking about it, I mean, if late teenagers are talking about it, this has got to be a new band. It took some time before I realized that they had an entire discography of 14 albums before. Um, but listening to it at the time, the sound was so completely unique and bizarre to me. And listening to it now in the chronological orders of their albums, the step towards Push the Sky Away makes a lot more sense. But it still is an incredible step from Dig Lazarus Dig or The Lyre of Orpheus and the Abattoir Blues. It is as if Nick Cave the Bad Seeds are actually continuously um, making different steps. They never stay at the same year idea. And I think this is their most sensitive, nuanced, and perhaps even developed. I find it very hard to say words like developed because um, in the raw power of Dig Lazarus Dig or the raw power of The Firstborn is Dead, there are also qualities that go lost when you go into softer territories. This is a very soft, genuine record. Taking a look at the track list, um, I do think that some of the songs here are among the best songs from the tens. You know, the 10 year. I'm not sure how you say it. The decade before are the zeros. Right now it's the 20s. Let's say the tens. Every song. I mean, We Know Who You Are, Wide Lovely Eyes. I mean, I love the tempo and the speed and the melody and the lightness on the voice of Nick Cave on Wide Lovely Eyes. Waters are just great. And then we get to Jubilee Street, and that's what I was just mentioning. One of those the best songs from the former decade, Jubilee Street. I love the way it flows. It is like a sea of waves, but then it speeds up And I love the moment when it speeds up, although it's delicate. It's so well done. Also, Warren Ellis here is on such an brilliant streak of 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 giving the songs a scenery. And the strange thing is, you'd almost say that Nick Cave is a storyteller. He is the voice and he's the heart. But Warren Ellis and Nick Cave share the heart of Nick Cave in the Bad Seeds. And then after Jubilee Street, Mermaids. I mean, again, one of the best songs of the tens. And then it's still time to go to side two. We Real Cool is good. Finishing Jubilee Street is interesting because he starts off talking about that he was writing Jubilee Street. Um, very interesting. Then he goes to Higgs, Boson Blues, and I am well. A year later, there was this film release, a documentary, 20,000 Days on Earth, and it was still in the well, I can say still in the hype of look at what Nick Cave has just done. And I went to the cinema with a friend of mine, with a cinematographer, and we saw 20,000 Days on Earth. And it's one of them. I'm a filmmaker. I've done a lot of documentaries, and one of the most influential films I saw was 20,000 Days on Earth. It's style wise, going to the next level, what a documentary can be like in a sense of storytelling and visually. I truly adore that. And there was this hype in the air, like at this moment, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are the best, the most interesting, the most fascinating, the most pushing artists that are around. And there's this scene in which you have a beautiful shot of Nick Cave, and he sings the Higgs Boson Blues. And the way that song progresses, it has something hypnotic. And the way Nick Cave is telling the story is just maddening good. Maddening good. And if you think that you've heard it all at that point, no. Ending off of the song Push the Sky Away, the titular track as the last track, which is this sense of mysticism. Gorgeous. I mean, this album is a gem. I love everything, all the tracks. I love the artwork. That's an interesting story. This photograph was taken by coincidence. I thought it was staged. I thought it was a studio and they had the lights go through the curtains and they put a model here and Nick Cave there. But, well, there is a model here. It's Nick Cave's wife. And there was this photographer who was doing a photo shoot with Nick Cave's wife in their shared bedroom. And Nick Cave was friendly enough to assist the shoot for light, you know. So what he was doing, he was helping and putting the curtains side to side. And then after a while, the photographer asked Nick Cave, I believe, to close the curtains. And he saw that image and he thought, well, that's a fascinating image. I want to capture that. So without them telling it, he took this picture. And something that must have been so staged is just coincidence. I mean, there is so much beauty in the entirety of this record. It's maddening. I love it. And I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.